There's something almost mythical about the A-Team's van. You remember it, the sleek gray and black beast that could take a dozen bullets, survive an explosion, and still roar back into action with that red stripe blazing under the California sun. But what if I told you that everything you thought you knew about B.A. Baracus's 1983 GMC Vandura is only half the story? This wasn't just another TV prop, it was a Frankenstein of metal paint and pure 1980s madness. From accidental design choices to actual legal battles, and from bulletproof armor to a horn that played the show's theme song, every detail hides something truly bizarre. So buckle up, because we're not just revisiting nostalgia here. We're tearing open the garage door on 20 weird facts that made the A-Team's van one of the most legendary vehicles in television history. And trust me, some of these facts are stranger than anything that ever happened on screen. 20. The van was never supposed to be gray and black. Believe it or not, the A-Team's signature color scheme happened completely by accident. Producers had planned for the van to be solid black, sleek, menacing, and cinematic. But when the paint they ordered got back-ordered for weeks, the art department had no choice but to improvise. They found leftover gray primer and black paint from another project and slapped them on as a temporary fix. Then George Peppard walked in, took one look and declared it perfect, more tactical, more military. The studio loved it. Suddenly, the gray and black combo became canon, so iconic in fact that they had to custom mix that exact shade of gray for every van used in the series. A paint shortage created TV history. 19. Mr. T designed the famous red stripe himself. That fiery red line slicing across the van's side. Not part of the plan. On the first day of shooting, Mr. T glanced at the freshly painted van and shook his head. "Too plain for BA," he said. Then he grabbed a roll of red tape and started decorating it himself right there on set. The crew panicked over wasted daylight, but when he stepped back, everyone agreed it looked amazing. They later turned his impromptu design into a permanent template, so every A-Team van carried that exact red streak of attitude. 18. The interior was built from TV junk. Inside the van, you'd find weapons racks, computers, and communication gear, none of which actually worked together. The set decorators scavenged props from at least 7 canceled shows. Spy equipment came from codename Diamond Head computers from Buck Rogers, and even the front seats were leftovers from Knight Rider. They glued, bolted, and welded everything into place for under $2,000, yet it looked like $1 million mobile command center. 17. The GMC logo started a legal war. Here's a twist: GMC never approved their vans for the A-Team. Producers simply bought them off dealerships and modified them. When GMC's lawyers saw the pilot, they sent a cease and desist, afraid kids might imitate the van's stunts. 3 months of legal back and forth followed until both sides compromised. The show could use the logo with a small credit disclaimer. Then the show exploded in popularity, and GMC flipped, using images of the van in their own ads. That triggered a second legal dispute until both parties realized they were promoting each other and called it even. 16. There were actually 6 different vans. If you think there was just one iconic ride, think again. 6 GMC Vanduras were built, each with its own role. Van 1 was the beauty van, pristine and camera ready. Van 2 handled stunts with reinforced framing. Van 3 was stripped down for jumps. Van 4 was literally the explosion. Van blown up, patched, and blown up again. Van 5 acted as backup, and Van 6 was the organ donor, providing spare parts whenever disaster struck. By the finale, Van 6 was just a hollow shell, but without it, none of the others would have survived. 15. The roof spoiler was functional. Sort of. Everyone assumes that oversized roof spoiler was just there for looks, but it actually had a purpose. During desert shoots, the van kept overheating, forcing the crew to pause every half hour. Desperate for a fix, the transport coordinator installed that spoiler to act as an air scoop, forcing more cool air over the engine bay. It worked a little too well. The engine ran cooler, but the new airflow created an unbearable wind roar at highway speeds. Every driving scene had to be dubbed later in a sound booth, because the dialogue was drowned out by noise. The cast hated those sessions, especially Dwight Schultz, who got motion sick pretending to drive while watching playback. 14. The van's weight broke 3 studio floors. With all its armor gadgets and props, the A-Team van weighed nearly 8,000 pounds, twice a stock Vandura. In Season 2, it cracked a studio soundstage floor, costing $50,000 to repair. Later, it partially collapsed a parking garage level and nearly fell through a warehouse floor. From that point on, the studio required a floor load check before parking the van anywhere. It wasn't just heavy, it was a structural hazard. 13. Mr. T couldn't actually drive it. The man famous for saying, "I pity the fool," couldn't even handle his own van. The added armor made steering stiff, the brakes twitchy, and the blind spots massive. Mr. T tried to train for 2 weeks, but one disastrous test drive straight through a catering tent ended the experiment. From then on, he only drove in close-ups. For stunts and chases, professional drivers wore Mr. T wigs and gold chains. He later admitted he was fine with that. That van scared me more than any bad guy ever did. 12. The Turbine sound was just a vacuum cleaner. That thrilling turbine whine fans loved so much. Not real. The actual van just rumbled like any old GMC. A sound engineer accidentally discovered the iconic tone while cleaning the studio. He covered part of a vacuum hose, heard the high-pitched hum, and recorded it. Layered with the real engine noise, it became the van's jet roar. The effect was so beloved that fans later tried replicating it. One even installed a mini jet turbine just for the sound. It worked, but only for 30 seconds before the tank ran dry. 11. The sliding door was legit dangerous. BA's signature move, sliding the heavy door open with flair, was far riskier than it looked. After armor plating, the door weighed over 200 pounds and was spring-loaded for speed. That force could shatter bones, and it did. A cameraman broke 2 fingers, a grip dislocated his shoulder, and an actor cracked ribs. They eventually painted a yellow danger zone line on the floor and banned anyone but trained crew from touching it. George Peppard refused to go near it at all, insisting they fake his scenes beside the door. 10. The wheels cost more than a car. Those gleaming chrome wheels with red center caps weren't just eye candy. They were engineering marvels. Each cost $12,000 back in 1983, more than the price of many new cars. They were custom forged from an aluminum alloy, tough enough to bear the van's 8,000-pound weight. The hardest part, matching the red paint of the center caps to the exact hue of Mr. T's stripe. After 3 failed batches and countless stunts that chipped the color, the team finally switched to anodized red durable, but insanely expensive. By the end of the series, they'd gone through 14 complete sets, $672,000 worth of wheels sacrificed to television glory. 9. The sunroof saved an actor's career. Dirk Benedict, who played Face, was severely claustrophobic. After one day trapped inside the cramped, gear-filled van, he had a panic attack mid-scene. Producers nearly recast him until a quick-thinking crew member cut a marine-grade sunroof into the roof. Dirk could pop his head out, breathe, and reset. They even wrote it into the show, Face casually. Standing through the roof wasn't swagger. It was survival. The sunroof also kept the overheated interior bearable, though once they forgot to close it during a rain scene soaking every prop and frying $30,000 worth of electronics. 8. The horn played the A-Team. Theme song in Season 2. Episode 15, fans heard BA honk the horn, and it played a few bars of the A-Team theme. No, the van didn't have a musical horn. The real one had broken that day. The sound engineer improvising connected a portable synthesizer to the horn button and programmed the show's theme. It was supposed to be temporary, but the producers loved it. They tried to make it permanent only to find the synth kept crashing from vibration. The theme horn only appeared in a few scenes, and in 2 of them, it was pure post-production magic. 7. The armor was real, and technically illegal. The van wasn't just pretending to be bulletproof, it actually was. The production team used genuine ballistic steel plates, the same kind used in armored cars, which made the vehicle illegal for road use in California. To keep the cops off their backs, producers claimed it was decorative. But the truth, they tested it in the Nevada desert, shooting at it with real guns. 38 and 9mm rounds bounced right off. The California Highway Patrol later threatened to impound the vans, forcing the producers to sign paperwork, swearing the armor was non-functional, and then promptly ignore it. 6. A black market for van parts. Emerged by Season 3. The A-Team van had become so famous that fans started stealing it piece by piece. It began with one damaged wheel cap that sold for $500, then spiraled into full-blown theft. Mirrors vanished. Door handles disappeared. Someone even unbolted an entire sliding door during a shoot and sold it overseas. One Japanese collector later paid $20,000 for it. The show lost over $100,000 in stolen parts, prompting security patrols and UV-marked components. Still, thieves managed to swipe smaller pieces, including the original gearshift knob. The A-Team van wasn't just iconic, it was contraband. 5. Mr. T's jewelry destroyed the interior. Those gold chains and massive rings that defined Mr. T's look also became the van's worst nightmare. Every time he climbed in, his accessories scraped against the paint, gouged the leather steering wheel, and scarred the dashboard. By the end of Season 1, the driver's door looked like it had survived a bear attack. The prop team tried everything, protective film, rubber coating, even padded panels. But nothing stood up to Mr. T's hardware. Eventually, they stopped fighting it and simply budgeted for constant repairs. Ironically, when the vans were auctioned years later, collectors paid more for the scratched-up model. They called the damage authentic BA battle scars. 4. The van had its own insurance policy. NBC valued the van so much they insured it as if it were a cast member. Not the physical vehicle, but the character itself. If something happened that kept the van from appearing on screen, production could claim lost revenue. The insurer categorized it as a non-human performer, the same class as animal actors. It even had a call sheet number right after George Peppard. When a stunt van was wrecked, the studio had to file an official injury report. The adjuster once asked, "Was the van conscious?" At the time, the policy paid out twice. Once after all 6 vans were in repair, and once when one was stolen and recovered in Mexico. Apparently, someone was trying to start their own A-Team. 3. The engine was replaced. Every season, few fans realized the A-Team van had a new heart each year. Season 1 ran a 350 small block. Season 2, a 454 big block, courtesy of Chevrolet. Season 3, a turbocharged setup from Turbonetics. And Season 4 even tried a Detroit diesel. Each engine swap meant new mounts, transmissions, and cooling systems, nightmares for the mechanics. Ironically, the original 350 V8 was the fastest and most reliable. By the time the diesel arrived, it was so sluggish that chase scenes had to be sped up in post. Still, the sponsor money kept rolling and funding the show's pyrotechnics. The crew joked that the van had more identity issues than Murdoch himself. 2. It once sparked an international incident. In 1985, a crew took Van 3 across the Mexican border for some quick establishing shots without permits. Local police spotted the armored vehicle with fake weapons and assumed it was a U.S. military convoy. Within minutes, they were surrounded by soldiers aiming rifles. The panicked crew waved scripts and production papers, insisting it was for television. The standoff lasted 6 hours before the U.S. Embassy intervened. NBC was fined $50,000, and Mexico banned the A-Team from filming there again. Headlines later read, "TV van nearly starts a war." After that, every border crossing required documentation, proving the weapons were fake and the armor non-functional. 1. The U.S. military tried to buy the van's design. Of all the wild stories surrounding the A-Team van, none tops this. In 1986, the U.S. Army Special Forces contacted the show's producers, requesting the full design specs for BA's 1983 GMC Vandura. They weren't joking. A tactical unit at Fort Bragg had been analyzing episodes for urban warfare training and believed the van's internal layout was genius. They wanted to adapt it into a real light assault vehicle. Hollywood prop makers suddenly found themselves sitting across from military engineers discussing armor layouts and equipment storage like it was a classified project. The Army even offered $200,000 for the plans. But when the producers explained that most of the van's equipment was fake, literally glued together with gaffer tape, the soldiers didn't care. They said the design was still smarter than what some defense contractors had proposed. The deal fell through due to legal issues. But somewhere deep in a military archive, there's a file labeled Project A-Team Van. Proof that at least once, Hollywood accidentally outsmarted the Pentagon. So there you have it, 20 strange, hilarious, and unbelievable facts about one of television's most legendary vehicles. A van born from paint, shortages, legal loopholes, and Mr. T's red tape, yet powerful enough to crash floors, cause diplomatic panic, and inspire the U.S. military. It wasn't just a prop. It was a character complete with scars, secrets, and a sound that could only come from a vacuum cleaner. Decades later, the A-Team's GMC Vandura still stands as the ultimate symbol of 1980s television, loud, larger than life, and a little bit ridiculous. But maybe that's why we love it. Because like the A-Team itself, it reminds us that even when the plan goes off the rails, it still somehow comes together.